Hey guys, it's Tori, and today I'm going to be finally doing my Ancientsathon TBR, so I probably will be doubling up on a lot of the prompts for this readathon, primarily because a couple of the books on this list are a little bit on the longer side, particularly for works from this era, so I don't want to overwhelm myself, but I have come up with at least one answer for each of the prompts, so that not only for my sake, in case I do end up finishing more than I think I will, but also for you guys, if you need any recommendations or options for things to read, maybe one of these will speak to you as well. So yes, we're just going to get right into this. So the first book or the first prompt I'm going to go over is to read a play. And for this prompt, I'm going to be reading a play by Euripides. Right now, I'm thinking I'm going to be reading Alcestis, as that's the first book in this collection, and it's one that I'm curious about because earlier this year I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, and this play is referenced in that book, so I just thought it would be really interesting to read it and kind of see more connections to that thriller. Additionally, I've just been dying to read more by Euripides, as I have read Medea by him and loved it, absolutely loved it. So I've wanted to read more by him for a long time. Even last Ancientsathon, I really was tempted to pick up one of his works, but it just didn't work out last year. So this year is the year I'm going to do it, and very excited about that. The next prompt is to read a nonfiction, and for that I decided to go with the Agricola and the Germania by Tacitus. This is a Roman history following the tribes, Germanic tribes, and the tribes on the British Isles. And I think it does discuss Boudica possibly in this, which I find very fascinating, is a figure I found very fascinating. This also really could work, in fact a lot of these could work for a work that I've thought a lot about and I need to start reading, so that's probably the prompt I'm going to double up for. I do have one specifically just for that prompt on here that I'll get to, but most of these will fit under that prompt as well. So anyway, this is one I'm excited to finally get to at some point, and it's not very long, which is always nice. The third prompt is a work of poetry, and for this one I'm going to go with just a Shakespeare play. Right now I'm leaning towards Henry VI Part 2, as I did Henry VI Part 1 a few months ago, and I have not gotten to Part 2 yet. However, it could change. I'm going to do that one a little bit more based on my mood, but I do need to get to a Shakespeare play before the end of June, because part of my yearly goals is to every quarter read a Shakespeare play, and I have not done that yet. So I need to do that anyway, and it works for the readathon, so I'm going to just have that as my poetry option. Then we have a work over 300 pages, and technically the copy I'm going to hold up is just under 300 pages, but most copies are over 300 pages, and this one is like a coffee table sized, which is why it's not quite 300, so I'm just going to count it. But that is the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chosler. This is a beautiful illustrated edition that I found for $4 in a used bookstore, and it just has these lovely full color illustrations that are just gorgeous. So anyway, very excited to pick this up. I have read several of the tales in the Canterbury Tales, but I haven't read the whole thing. So that's going to be my challenge for this readathon, is to get through the Canterbury Tales finally. Then for a work that I've thought a lot about and it's time to start reading, I'm going to go with the Saga of the Volsungs. Basically, I just have wanted to read a saga for a long time, a Viking saga for a really long time. And this is the one I currently own. So if I'm able to get to it, I'm going to try to read this. This is probably my lowest priority though for the month, because like I said, most of the other works I have on this list will fit for this prompt, and I just have more drive to pick some of those up than this one necessarily. But this is a possibility if the mood so strikes, or if I do magically end up finishing everything else on this list. Again, I doubt that's going to happen, but if it does, I'll try to pick this up. Then for a religious work, the final of the prompts, I have chosen to try to get to the selected writings of St. Thomas More. A lot of these are religious in nature. Pretty much all of them, I think, are religious in nature. I've read little snippets of works by Thomas More, and just something about his writing style is very beautiful to me, so I've really wanted to get more into his work and see if I actually really like his stuff, or if it's just the specific things I read that I enjoyed. But yes, I'm going to see if I can get started on this at least. I will say I do have a few books on this list that are top priority, and this is not necessarily one of them, but we'll just see how life goes. And of course, I will be reading the group read, The Book of the City of Ladies by Christine de Pizan, and this one is not terribly long, but definitely not necessarily super fast to read either, so we'll see how this goes. I have read the first few sentences just to see what the writing style was like as far as this translation goes, and so far it seems very doable and interesting to read. So yes, we will be reading this. I think my top, if I were to name my top priorities for the month, they're probably going to be these. So the Canterbury Tales, the Book of the City of Ladies, of course, and then a play by Euripides and a play by Shakespeare. I didn't want to get my Shakespeare collection down right now, but I think those are my 4 priorities for the month as far as the readathon goes. Then if I do get through those, I probably will try one of these or both of them, and then if I somehow get through these, I'll probably try to pick this up. So that's kind of my order of priorities as far as they go, but those 4 that I'm prioritizing do work for all of the prompts. They're able to cover all of the prompts, so that is really nice as far as that goes. I did also want to briefly mention 2 other books that one I need to try to finish in the month of June because I'm hosting a read-along for it, so I'm going to definitely be prioritizing it as well. And then another book that I would like to get to, and based on how my mood shifted last readathon, I think it's possible I may end up being willing to at least start it by the end of the month, but we'll see. So the first one that I need to really get through in this month, during the month of June, is The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. This is the 3rd and final book in the Thomas Cromwell series, and I am hosting a read-along for it. I haven't even started it. It is the 17th of May, and I'm supposed to read the first half this month. I probably won't, but I'll at least try to start it by the end of the month and then hopefully get through it by the end of June. We haven't done our discussion on Bring Up the Bodies yet though, so I feel like if we push a little into July, that will probably be acceptable, but I definitely will need to work a lot on this throughout the month, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes well. I don't have a lot of plans in June. I'm just mostly going to be working, so I should have a decent amount of time to read a lot this month, hopefully. So hopefully I can keep myself engaged in reading as much as possible. And then last year, towards the end of the readathon, I ended up being in a very Victorian literature mood, specifically Thomas Hardy mood. So I did end up getting to a Thomas Hardy novel in that month. And so because of that, it's possible I'll end up being in a Victorian literature mood this month, and I have a couple more I need to read before Victober that were on my post-Victober Victorian TBR. I had, I think, 5 or 6 on that list, and I just have 2 left to read, and one of them is a shorter one. So that book is Silas Marner by George Eliot. I wanted to get to something by George Eliot before the next Victober, and this is just a really short one by her, so I think it will be very doable, and I'm considering possibly starting middle March for Victober, I'm thinking that a shorter work by her will probably be a good thing. So anyway, we'll see if I end up starting this or not. This is very up in the air. I just would like to get to it as soon as possible, and June is a whole month that I could utilize in that way if possible. So we'll see if this happens. I just had this and The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins that I wanted to get to. So like I said, we'll see how this goes. This is definitely not a priority necessarily at all. It's just something I would like to get to. And honestly, it's probably a higher priority than even some of my Ancientsathon picks. Again, my mood may shift and change, but as of right now, that's what I would say. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. And yes, that's it. That is my June Ancientsathon TBR. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, your thoughts on them. If you have a favorite Canterbury tale, I would love to know. If you have your own TBR set for Ancientsathon, please let me know. And if you've made a video about it, please link it down below so I can make sure to try to add it to my Ancientsathon 2022 TBR playlist. I'm trying to gather those up. And yeah, thank you again so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!